What's up, guys? It's Aidan from Birds vs. Boys podcast coming to you solo tonight for the game day reaction pod. The guys thought it would be best if I did it by myself tonight, considering that the Cowboys are on a bye week and we only have the Eagles game to talk about. And they decided and thought maybe I should give a state of the union for what's going on with the Eagles because there's a lot to say and not a lot of it is positive. The Eagles were dominated, emasculated, whatever word you want to use to describe how they lost to the Raiders today in Las Vegas. Truly feel bad to all the fans who traveled to that game because there are hangovers and then there are party in Vegas for 72 hours at clubs and watch your team get skull fucked by Derek Carr hangovers. It's bad. So just an absolutely dominating performance by the Raiders. Derek Carr had 3 incompletions. 3. Had over 300 yards passing. They also had over 100 yards rushing between Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs, who went out. So they dominated in every facet of the game. So the Eagles now sit at 2-5. We're slightly below the halfway mark of the season, but I think we already know how this is trending. We have a big enough sample size to know who this team is. So we're coming to you with the State of the Union. So let's start with this game first, because I think all of the themes from this game have been repetitive throughout the season and culminates perfectly for a State of the Union because the same mistakes keep happening week after week. It's insanity. I remember reading this book when I was in middle school or so, where this man went insane because he walked the same path every day, and he eventually started to see his own footprints on the path. And he went insane because he was keep doing the same thing again and again and again. He was like, I have to get out of this rut. Well, that's where the Eagles are because they keep making mistakes. They keep creating that same path on the way to losses. So just getting into this game, just some of the things that stuck out. Let's start early on. There's a 3rd and 3. You're in field goal range. You false start. Now it's 3rd and 8, and you're out of field goal range, and you get sacked. So you get no points on that. And that's back when the game was still believable that you could pull out a win. It was 7-7 at that point, I believe. So instead of converting a first down on 3rd and 3, you turn it into 3rd and 8. These are the problems that make it really tough to judge if Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of the future, because you never put him in 3rd and manageable situations. He's always running for his life on what seems like a 3rd and 12. It started off well. They ran the ball efficiently on the first drive, went right down the field, 7-0. It was perfect. I said on the podcast this week, this is the good vibes game of the year. All the fans travel down. We beat some team. It feels like a home game. We come home with a win. Everyone's happy on their flight back. So that's how you're feeling when they were up 7-0. And at that point, I don't think that they stopped the Raiders one time until the end of the game, when the Raiders were just simply trying to run out the clock and stopped playing offense. They had no answer the entire day. So they lost Josh Jacobs. They bring in Kenyon Drake. They had a 10-play, 96-yard drive where they did not face a 3rd down. They went completely down the field, scored, and then we fumble the ball. Guy's knee was down, but who cares? Who cares? Because you weren't stopping them from 75 yards away. You weren't stopping them from 25 yards away. And that creates a turnover. They get the ball back. They score again, and then they get the ball to start the second half. Mistakes, again and again and again. So I can't keep doing this with this team. I have a full list, and I don't know where to go next because I'm like, what mistake should we talk about next? Because there is a full page of them. This is just, if you're watching on YouTube, I wrote down all the mistakes and filled an entire page. I think the biggest thing to touch on is the defense, because the quarterback and the coach are what we're going to talk about because it's football and you have to have both of those to succeed. So we're saying, is Hurts the guy after a performance like this? They gave up 3 incompletions to Derek Carr, who is the definition of mediocrity in quarterback play in the league and has been for several years. It's just amazing how efficient he made the game look. Emmanuel Acho and the press box was like, this looks like practice. It was that easy for them. Here's the reason why. They don't have linebackers who can cover. They don't have the speed. Aside from Alex Singleton, who even arguably, we don't even know if he is a starting caliber linebacker. They have nobody else. Davion Taylor looked lost the entire day. And I don't know. Here's my recommendation going forward. Draft linebackers whose religion allows them to play football on Friday and Saturday nights. So that way you know that the player is good and he doesn't look like he's completely lost when he gets in the game in an NFL game. And probably don't use a third round pick on those players who have never played football before. Completely insane. That gets lost in the JJ Arcega-Whitesides, DeAndre Dillards, and all the bad draft picks. We completely forget about Davion Taylor. But it keeps coming up because the linebackers can't cover. They don't particularly have good instincts. You can see them get gashed in the run game quite often. There isn't one thing that they do well. Anthony Harris, the safety, was out today. He's not a particularly stud, I guess you could call it. And instead, they have Marcus Epson there, who we just can't keep doing this. He keeps ending up on posters, whether it's DK Metcalf in the postseason game or today on the touchdown. I believe it's to Foster Moreau, who's the backup for Darren Waller. They didn't even have Waller today. He got posterized. He completely just can't cover anybody, which seems to be a theme here. And the secondary group as a whole, they're average. Like Darius Slay is good. He guarded Henry Ruggs efficiently, didn't allow the big play. And guess what? They just go to the other side. And I thought Hunter Renfrow was the key to the game for the Raiders, and we just had no answer for him. The one thing that stuck out to me, and it's these little things that add up when we're talking about mistakes. And I didn't hear anybody mention this, but the Hunter Renfrow catch that was ruled a catch, and they get the ball at the 1 yard line. And on the very next play, they ironically run a pick play to score the touchdown, which in Philadelphia, that one's coming back 5 yards. But it didn't look like he ever fully got his arms around the ball and secured it. It was bobbling the entire time. A smart coach challenges there because, okay, you lose the challenge. Who cares? You're already losing, and they're on the brink of scoring again. And they're gonna go for it on 4th and 1 from the 1 yard line. If it's 4th and 6 from the 6, they're probably not going for it on 4th and goal. So you use your challenge there. That's what a smart coach does. We just have a coach that wears nice shirts, and they're funny and they're cool. That's the little things that add up. So instead of 4th and 6, you have it 4th and 1. They score in the next play and it's another touchdown, and you completely lose momentum. What else do we have? The next play, we'll switch over to the offense now. You're 6 inches away and you're in shotgun. Why? Just why? And I know it is a spread offense. And I know on the play before, Max Crosby had an incredible play, Troy Polamalu-esque, where he jumps over the line to stop the Jalen Hurts QB sneak. But it wasn't a negative play that you went from a yard out to a half a yard out. So just do it again. It's 3rd and goal. So you have 2 more chances at 6 inches. Instead, you get in the shotgun. The guard tips the snap from Jason Kelce. And then it's a fumble, and you get no points out of that drive. And then you're staring down 2 possessions, not truly out of the game in the 4th quarter. If you would have scored on that possession, you would have been down. It would have been a 1-possession game miraculously. These things add up, and they kept the penalties low today, but it's the really stupid stuff like that sticks out. Putting a hand into the snap from the center, which causes the ball to come weird to the quarterback, who then fumbles, and then you lose your chance to score. But if you're under center and you just run a QB sneak, that doesn't happen. They're all connected. You can see all of these things connecting. And the one other thing from this game, I do want to touch on Jalen Hurts just a little bit. He was inconsistent. The broadcast, which was terrible. I think my personal hell is listening to Jonathan Vilma talk for 3 hours while getting skull fucked by Derek Carr. But Devontae Smith, the drops, do we call them drops when you're throwing it at his shin bone? Do we call it drops when he has to almost dislocate his arm to reach back to catch the ball? That's the next level of Jalen Hurts progression that we need to see, is the ball placement. And just making more accurate passes to your receivers, anticipating, getting the ball out, and getting the ball to the receiver on time, on target. You hear that phrase all the time: on time, on target. That really happens sometimes, but not all times. And it's really hard to judge if he is a good quarterback or not because of everything that goes on around him. And that is the key. And that is where we're at in the State of the Union. The State of the Union is all about talent. This team is just flat out severely under talented. at pretty much every position. They are below average at every position you can humanly think of. Even the defensive line, which is the one position you'd say, yeah, they're probably above average. They really don't have depth beyond Josh Sweat, Derek Barnett, Fletcher Cox, and Javon Hargrave. They bring that second unit in, and like maybe Milton Williams is something, maybe, but he's a rookie, so you got time to develop him. We don't even know where Ryan Kerrigan is half the time. I still don't think he's recorded a stat the entire season. It's talent. I'm in physical therapy right now. Kevin and I have talked about our ailments on the show. And my physical therapist was explaining to me this week, a lot of times with athletes, you see those ACL tears, and it's not because of something in the knee. It's weakness somewhere else. So like you're weak in your hips. So you're trying to overcompensate with your knees. And that's where the injury comes in with the overcompensation. A lot of the mistakes the Eagles make are because they're overcompensating for a lack of talent. We talked about the linebackers, the safety, but we could do this for every position group. And again, they're flashing the graphic offensive line, 20 different formations that they've had since the beginning of 2020. Can't win like that. There's nobody who constantly wins at the wide receiver position beyond Devontae Smith, who is a rookie, and you're relying on a rookie again, just like you were Jalen Reagor last year, and Travis Fulgham in his first year as a starting wide receiver in the NFL. On the defensive side of the ball, like we talked about, Darius Slay's good, but then they just throw it to the other side because the other side's below average. It's they have multiple position groups, not players, where people shouldn't be NFL starters on any other 31 teams, and they're getting significant reps for this Eagles football team. You are at the point with this franchise that next week against the Lions, it wouldn't be a bad thing if they lost, because then at least you would get the Lions a win and can kind of get them out of the number one slot for Kayvon Thibodeau. And you can maybe sneak in there with the way the Dolphins are trending, who lost today to the Falcons of all teams. You have to completely overhaul multiple position groups in the offseason. 3 first-round picks is not enough, which is unbelievable to think about, that a team with 3 first-round picks who say you even hit on all 3, which if the current GM gets to make those selections, you definitely have to consider like that may be a screw up considering everything else that he's done draft wise. But even the 3 first-round picks, as much as I'm excited about them and rooting for Carson Wentz to play 70% of the snaps and rooting for the Dolphins to lose, this will not fix that team. They'll have more cap space. They can sign guys. It won't fix this team. That is how severely depleted they are of talent. It's really hard to watch, and it makes it really annoying because you don't really know if like Jalen Hurts is the next Dak Prescott or if he's the next Tyrod Taylor, who's just a backup who kind of travels around the league. But you can't tell because the line doesn't block. You don't run the ball with the coach. Your running backs aren't that good to begin with. Then your running back gets hurt today. The receivers don't get open. And then you just have Jalen Hurts bailing out every time to his right side. Again and again and again. We are at that point of definition of insanity in our State of the Union. Again and again and again. On the defensive side of the ball, if Javon Hargrave doesn't win his one-on-one, then the running back is usually at the second level where the linebacker doesn't make a play, and Rodney McLeod at the third level is usually relied heavily upon to make the tackle because nobody else can. That is where we're at. This is an unbearable franchise to watch right now. They have no one to blame but themselves, and they can use that little scapegoat that they have to pay someone $34 million to play somewhere else. But even when he was here and even now, they weren't drafting well enough to field a competitive NFL team. They do not have 53 NFL caliber players on their team. It is sad. It is depressing. They are disappointing to watch. You give yourself this false hope because they make these miraculous comebacks after they've been dominated for, let's say, 55 minutes of the game, and then in the last 5, they score in garbage time. Who cares? The team is bad. They don't execute well because the coach probably isn't good. But even him, for instance, if you switched it last week and Bruce Arians was on our side instead of Nick Sirianni, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, because the team sucks. They have no talent. I can say it any different way. We can talk about any position group you want. They suck. 3 first-round picks isn't going to change it. They have to burn this thing to the ground. If you're Jeffrey Lurie and you watch that 10-play, 96-yard drive where the Raiders did not have a third down and scored a touchdown, you should have known in that moment you are doing a massive overhaul. The GM is gone. The coach is gone. The coaching staff is gone. The ticket takers are gone. The people who park the fucking cars are gone. Get rid of everybody. Native Americans, when they planted their crops, at the end of the harvest season, they would burn the crops so that it created a nice new soil so they could grow again. That's where Jeffrey Lurie needs to be, or else I'm pretty much out on him too. If you allow this front office another draft, this shit is going to keep happening. It happens every fucking year. This isn't one bad draft. It's not one. We haven't drafted a Pro Bowl player on this team since Fletcher Cox in 2012. And the only other guy to win one will play for the Colts tonight on Sunday Night Football, and you owe him $34 million to play elsewhere. And that's the only 2 Pro Bowlers that you've drafted in a decade. The 2022 NFL draft will be a decade since they drafted a Pro Bowl player on this roster. How do you expect to be competitive in today's NFL when you don't draft talent, you aren't able to develop talent, and then at the end of the day, you get people who call in and say, well, let's fire the coach. Well, how many coaches do you need to see to know that it really doesn't fucking matter if everybody on the team sucks? The team sucks. That could be the end of the State of the Union right there. It could have been a 30-second clip today. This team sucks. They have no talent at all whatsoever at any key position. This isn't going to change. They aren't going to grow and develop this year and turn into something at the end of the year. And then you're going to say, well, they just needed time to figure things out because they're young. No, this is who they are. They're the team that it looks like a glorified 7-on-7 for Derek freaking Carr. That's who they are. They're going to be the team with double-digit penalties. They're going to be the team who loses the turnover battle. They're going to be the team where the receivers aren't open. They're going to be the team where the offensive line can't block. And they're going to be the team where they're under 100 rushing yards because they just don't have any good running backs. They are going to be the team that gives up over 100 rushing yards as they've done for 2 straight weeks, 3 straight weeks if you consider the Carolina game, even though it was a win. They're going to be the team with blown assignments and coverage. They're going to be the team with missed tackles because the linebackers aren't good. This is who they are. And this is who they're going to be if you let this GM continue. His time is done. And if Jeffrey Lurie doesn't see that, then we got to be out on him too. This should be a one-and-done coaching staff. There are no other excuses. There is no way around it. Burn the entire thing to the ground. That is the end of the State of the Union. Sad, depressing. Who cares? It's not going to change from weeks 8 to 17. This is who the Eagles are. They suck. There's no talent, and there's no cavalry coming behind them.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upside alert. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope. I'm going to drink bleach.
That is the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.